Please welcome moderator Ben Newman.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to be back. You have drinks this time, which probably makes it a little bit easier, and we get to have some fun with the latest and greatest tried versus true. Tonight, we're going to cover 4 topics. Each topic will be introduced by a moderator, and then 2 speakers will quickly debate that topic, and the audience will have the opportunity to vote for your favorite side. Let the debates begin. I have the pleasure of introducing Iron Fist versus Velvet Glove. Before I introduce the 2 individuals that will debate, I wanted to mention seeing these 2 leadership styles is something I've seen at a very, very high level. I had the opportunity this morning to talk about my relationship with Coach Saban at Alabama. 5 years, 2 national championships, and he would be the example of ruling with an iron fist. A very incredible relationship guy, but definitely the iron fist style that Adam Kanter is going to debate tonight. The second type of leadership is Velvet Glove. I've had the opportunity for 10 years to work with Coach Chris Kleiman. I won 3 national championships with him at North Dakota State and 1 AA football. And then now we've been together for 6 years at Kansas State, where 2 years ago we won a Big 12 championship. I definitely have seen with him Velvet Glove leadership. So I couldn't be any more excited to have the opportunity to see this debate tonight, to enjoy it like all of you will, with Adam Kanter versus Andrew Dailey. First, let me introduce Andrew Dailey. He'll be representing the Velvet Glove. Andrew Dailey is the professor of neurosurgery as well as the adjunct professor of orthopedics at the University of Utah, where he serves as the chief of spine. With over 20 years of experience, Dr. Dailey is well known for his expertise in spinal cord injury, spinal trauma, cervical degenerative disease, and spinal deformities. He will be debated by Adam Kanter once again, who will represent Iron Fist. Adam Kanter is the chief of neurosurgery and associate executive medical director of the Hoag Specialty Clinic and Neurosciences Institute in Newport Beach, California. He received his medical degree from the University of Vermont, and he has been decorated as a speaker, as a writer, and received countless awards for his work in the field. How about a round of applause for our Velvet Glove debater, Andrew Dailey.
Thanks so much. That's the nicest introduction I think I've ever had. So I think Zach must have needed some comic relief at the end of a very long day, because he charged me with talking about the emotionally intelligent leader. So that's what we're going to go ahead and talk about and debate Adam and say that this is the way to do things. Now, by way of background, Adam and I come from very similar backgrounds. We basically have the same neurosurgical lineage. However, the traditional leadership or authoritarian leadership style that he is going to espouse clearly worked for him, and it didn't work so well for me, as you will see. So, what we're going to start with is the traditional leadership style. And this is basically where authoritative power is bestowed upon a person legitimized by the sanctity of the tradition. There was a sociologist in the early 20th century, Max Weber, who summed it up by saying the servants are completely and personally dependent upon the Lord. Well, that sounded very much like my neurosurgical training. So I think, this is the problem with the downsides of this traditional style. The leaders are resistant to change. They're very autocratic. They work with fear and intimidation, and they can be very inflexible. The problem then is you get stagnation, and the followers don't embrace creativity, and you're not allowed to be creative in this environment. Now, this was taken to the max by Machiavelli, and basically in his dialogue, The Prince, basically what he did is he commented on leadership styles in early 16th century Italy. And in these styles, power is gained by duplicity and cunning, and leaders use deception, manipulation, and fear to achieve their goals. The problem with this is, you have to maintain power and stability, and it promotes the interests of the leaders by manipulating and exploiting in others. And in summary, you can say the ends justify the means. But the problems with this are you get organizational cynicism, which leads to emotional exhaustion, and then you get a burned out staff. And that's not great for a leadership in this day and age. It's not great way to develop a neurosurgical program. So what we've talked about more, and what I'm going to espouse, is a servant type style of leadership, where leaders prioritize the well-being and growth of the followers. You provide a culture of service and support. Oh, sorry about that. And you provide the resources to basically so that everyone can succeed. It's very relationship-oriented, and you're built on trust and empathy. And you promote the autonomy of your servants and the people who work with you and so forth, so that you can really develop a very good program. Some people will call it, and Mark Mahan said, the hands-off-the-wheel style of leadership, and that can be summed up by what Warren Buffett says. And you basically, if you pick out associates whose behavior is better than yours, you'll drift in that direction. And so you can think of this as a very way to float everybody to the top. Now, the pros of this are you get high satisfaction and retention, the employees take pride in their work, and creativity thrives. You get motivated employees, but you still have to stay very involved and point out the problems. So you still have to be hands-on. It's not quite hands-off the wheels leadership. Now, there's as we have different racial and ethnic backgrounds, we also have diverse personalities that we have to deal with. And you've got to think of these diverse personalities in a certain way. This is one way that I think about it, is this thing called the Enneagram, where you have 9 different types of personalities. And basically, each one of those is going to have a different leadership style. Now, it's traditional that these type 8 and type 3s, where people at type 8 are strong and direct steamrollers, that you can imagine they would make good leaders. And type 3, where people focus on rewards and success and are very goal-oriented, they would make good leaders. But obviously, not everybody who you work with is going to be that same thing. I actually took a test of this thing and found out that I was the skeptical, vigilant troubleshooter, or type 6. And the problem with this is people will see you as a pessimist, but you see yourself as a realist. And the problem is you've got to learn from these different personality styles and develop your leadership style. You can't get mired in this way with paralysis by analysis, but you got to go ahead and keep moving the ball forward. Now, what we want to do is lead with emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence can be basically understanding and basically maximizing your emotions, as it were, and also recognizing the emotions of others. You need self-awareness and recognizing your emotions, and you need self-regulation. Motivation, you need to know what your goals are, and you need to have empathy and share your feelings with others. Finally, you have to have the social skills to address the conflicts that arise in this type of environment. This was noted in this, the various laws of leadership that you can see here from John Maxwell. One of his laws, Law 10, is the law of connection. And so when working with people, what he said is the heart comes before the head. And this is the whole key behind emotional intelligence. What you need is a connection with people. Now, there's a good description that he makes in this book, and this is a great example of where a connection works and where it doesn't. This is George Bush in 2 dissimilar situations, but both crises in the U.S. The first one was obviously 9/11, and we all remember how his popularity soared when he was actually talking to the firemen on the site and so forth and so on, and really connecting with them on a personal level. The image on the right is where he was flying above New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, and he seemed very disconnected from everybody, and that's when his popularity was at a complete low for his presidency. So in many ways, you need a connection with people if you're going to succeed and be able to lead them. The most successful leaders will connect with people. So in summary, authoritarian leadership is not sustainable. We have to understand there are a wide array of personalities that you have to work with and understand each of those and work with those personally. You need to learn to read and connect with others. But I think most importantly, you need to learn to, and this is something I've learned the hard way over the years, you need to really learn to connect with your family and make sure they're always the most important. So thank you for your time.
All right. Thanks for the intro. So everybody wake up. I thought you just weren't talking into the mic, but just even talking about the velvet glove is boring, right? Okay, so the Iron Fist. Here are my disclosures. However, my real disclosure is I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor of in my household, the soft velvet glove. This is about 12 years ago. around the s'mores fire pit.
Mom, please, I beg you. Okay, it's time to have fun. Go away.
Okay? Are we done? So there's no authority. It was chaos. These crazy little kids. Not even sure how many of them are mine. I believe they all are. We have 5 kids, and you can see the chaos that's occurring. And I was just sitting there on the camera going, my gosh, this is my household here. So here's a little bit of Iron Fist. See, the pup wants the now I'm not suggesting we smack our kids, but someone learned a lesson right there, right? That was a lesson. You're saying, well, this is just dogs, right? Well, what about humans? Of course, okay, Fido, let's talk about how those yellow tentacles made you feel. We can do that if you'd like. What about humans? Little child doesn't want to eat his oats or whatever it is. Well, what if Mickey eats them? Mickey doesn't want them either. Instantaneous, right? Look at that little face. Instantaneous. And Andrew's going, oh God, Mickey's dead. So let's talk a little bit about the Iron Fist. And let's look at those that have had an Iron Fist and the success. General George Patton, our senior U.S. World War II hero, had an aggressive, no-nonsense leadership style, his ability to inspire his troops to perform at their best, decisive actions, strict discipline, victories throughout the Allied forces. Here he is addressing his group, and these are famous quotes from our Iron Fist leaders. I don't measure a man's success by how high he climbs, but how high he bounces when he hits the bottom, right? Have everyone in here is in neurosurgery, right? How many folks have trained us with this type, right? Everybody know this guy? Notice I didn't have to change the left side other than changing the words to neurosurgery, right? But victories in the OR and in organized neurosurgery. This is Chris Shaffrey here? Oh, thank God. These are actual words spoken from Chris Shaffrey. Let's go, piano fingers. You should be stronger than an 80-year-old bone. And Chris Shaffrey was instrumental in my growth, and I think there's a bunch of UVA guys in here as well. And we can talk more about that in a minute. What about Margaret Thatcher, Prime Minister of the UK, the Iron Lady? That was her name, the Iron Lady. Strong, uncompromising approach to leadership, firm decision maker, undertook unpopular reforms to address economic issues. You turn if you want to, this lady's not returning, right? There's things that did not change because she was decisive. This was her plan. Steve Jobs, co-founder of CEO. We've all heard stories about Steve Jobs. He's known for his perfectionist, demanding leadership style. He made tough decisions, brought the standards up, but these are the pictures that we've seen, right? These are the pictures we've seen of Steve Jobs. What does Steve Jobs say? He wasn't there to be everyone's friend. My job is not to be easy on people. My job is to make them better, which is what happens for each of us in our neurosurgery programs, is that when we work with our Iron Fist leaders, they make us better. Angela Merkel, being the first woman is not an accomplishment, it's a responsibility. Do yours. Jeff Bezos, when you think our standards are unreasonably high, that's when we raise the bar. Elon Musk, nobody ever changed the world on 40 hours a week. Is Praveen in here? Even the big P. When I had my twin daughters, I had them during my fellowship. And on the morning of, I said, hey, my wife's gonna have the babies today. Do you mind if I head over and be a part of that? Fine, but don't be late for rounds. Not kidding. I was there rounds. These aren't angry, miserable people all the time because they're ruling with an iron fist. You can see how happy these folks get. Even Praveen every now and then will pop a smile, especially when he gets awards. So I was trained at UVA, University of Virginia. Dr. Jane was the reason many of us went to UVA. And I wouldn't say that Dr. Jane ruled with an iron fist. However, we all felt it, even though he may not have been aggressive. And you don't have to be aggressive in order to rule with an iron fist. But he endorsed the message to Garcia. And I bet everyone in this room knows the message to Garcia. You know, the just get the job done. Don't ask questions. Don't give excuses. Go and get the job done. Also trained by Ed Laws. Ed Laws, this is how he looked to most people. Every now and then you'd ask him a little question or so, and then you'd get this look. That look right there, you were about to be skinned. and it wasn't in an aggressive, well, sometimes, but the point being, these are the people, Chris Shaffrey, Ed Laws, John Jane, that made me who I am today, that made me a meticulous and what I believe an excellent surgeon. And probably many of you feel very similarly about those that trained you. Ed Laws once said, there is no room for error in neurosurgery. If you want to make careless mistakes, go flip burgers. But don't you dare get a job anywhere where I'll be eating. So he didn't even want to be a part, even at the burger flipping joint, he didn't want to be a part of anything that wasn't superior. These are the people that made me who I am. And ask yourself, who helped you be your best? Was it the tiger? Was it the lion? Was it the one that came down hard on you that potentially, whether it was fear, whatever it was that you felt inside, whatever it was that raised your heart rate when they were around and you wanted to please them and be the best that you could actually be? Was it the tiger or was it this guy? So the Iron Advantage enables quick decision-making in emergent situations when rapid responses are required, provides clear direction and authority. There's no ambiguity in your roles and responsibilities, enables you to be highly productive and efficient, cutting through the bureaucracy and red tape. It enables you to be effective in organizational phases, in particular during, for example, startups when there's major pivots in a company or in the hospital. High-risk environments, when facing competitive pressures, when you have undisciplined or low-performing teams or children, and in situations when there's centralized decision-making that's necessary and confidentiality. So the rules, motivated by conviction, vision, and a mission set forth by a decisive leader, ensuring communication is not lost in ambiguity, providing clear, decisive directives, fostering highly coordinated, structured teams, essential for rapid adaptation and implementation, reinforces excellence. I can keep going, right? Strategic decisions, emphasizing strict development. This is, I want to go back because this is important. I apologize, but I found some home video footage from Andrew. This is maybe, 15 years ago? This is a while ago, but this is the soft glove over at Andrew's. There he is. All right, sorry, that was loudish. Sorry. So the truth is, I'm up here talking about the Iron Fist. We talked about the glove, the leadership, the best leadership, the ability to adapt one's leadership style to the needs of the moment. It's the hallmark of truly effective leadership. It's context dependent, it's individual dependent, its effectiveness varies on the base, or is based on situation, organizational structure, culture, individuals, the specifics of that challenge. So thank you very much.
About one more round of applause for Iron Fist, Adam Kanter versus Andrew Dailey, Velvet Glove. So the way the voting is going to work, if everybody could get your phones out, we're going to have a QR code that is going to go onto the screens. We will have a vote in live time. We will find out our winner, and then we will go on to our second debate. Our winner will be Dr. Adam Kanter.